Stephen King's On Writing, a memoir of the craft, is two-thirds personal anecdote and one-third writing advice. This is a peculiar formulation for a book that is about the craft, and yet it might be explained by Stephen's approach to story. He is profoundly suspicious of plot as opposed to story. Plot is man-made, engineered. It's like a Fiji mermaid, and someone's going to realize that you stuck the front part of that monkey to that fish's butt. Story is like digging up fossils. You uncover a story, discover it, and then one bone leads you to another until you have a whole T-Rex. The story writes itself. And King never says this, but he seems to intuit that the fertile soil out of which these fossils are discovered are the stuff of our own lives, our own stories, that in a sense, we too are stories. We are being uncovered. And so he presents these moments that become his story, and his story that becomes his stories. And so, in the spirit of Stephen King, I also wanted to try and recount my own personal anecdotes while following some of his writing advice and following his advice for editing. As you can see, this is my first draft, which I edited quite harshly. And here's my second, which I also edited for time. And I've tried to avoid those Swiftian adverbs and cut those unneeded words that he says to get rid of. And we'll see if this experiment gives us a monkeyfish or a real stegosaurus. When I was 4, my father and I went to the sea. We camped on the beach in the cool and quiet night. My father shook me by the shoulder and told me to get up. We were going for a walk. I don't remember fighting as my father took my hand and we left the tent. The moon shone, the dunes were stardust piles of blue and silver. The sea was like an indigo hush, a gentle rhythmic lullaby. It rolled in with white foam and deep black, dazzling in the silver light. I don't remember walking. I watched the sea drift in and out, my feet sinking into the soft sand. I don't remember anything after that. Later, I brought up this midnight walk to my father. He remembered camping by the sea, but he did not remember that enchanted moment. I still don't know if it was a dream or not. All I know is that I am still there. When I moved from Texas to Missouri, I felt lost. I told my mom we would always be Texans. I found some friends, Michael and David. They were going to save the world. A little creek ran under a road. One way led to a man-made pond where all the Lakeview people kept their boats. The other way led back to the mysterious wilderness of my childhood. Michael and David thought it was a dirty place. They wanted to clean it up. I didn't care. The creek was perfect. Go past the road, around the paths hemmed in by shrubbery. Hop over the little gorge, and you would find yourself at the ruins. There, stones aligned themselves into particular shapes like hexagons, as if they were the work of some long-dead civilization. Go past the ruins, and find a place where the trees have all been cut down to make room for power lines. There, the milkweed grows tall, and the monarch butterflies rest on the poles like fluttering orange flowers. Go to the right. A grove of trees with foot-long thorns like the kind from Sleeping Beauty surrounds a stagnant pond. Go further, run, fly. Burst from the thorny grove into the endless expanse of golden grass dotted by a single tree in the far distance. Oh, those were golden days. That sea of grass like the sea on the moonlit night. A moment of pure wonder that I will never forget. I am still there. In high school, I realized that I had never brought my church friends to see this creek that I had talked about so much. So we cut back to the thick overgrowth that had taken over the paths leading to the little gorge. The place was drained of color. I did not question why someone had left their long black hose hanging over a tree branch. It wasn't a hose. That snake looked me right in the eye, flicking out its forked tongue with no malice, only confusion. "What are you doing here?" it asked. I didn't answer. I ran away, laughing with these new friends of mine in fear and delight as we left behind my childhood Eden, and I never looked back. I suppose I never could have returned there anyway. Now I can return any time I like. I am still there. So how did that go? I was no Stephen King, but I think his advice helped a lot. The effect this produced in my writing was terseness and a little bit of a shocking factor. The sentences kind of come out of nowhere to punch you in the gut. My style can be kind of colloquial, but there's something sharp and attention-grabbing about such terseness, like a bloody knife. Now, was King's book a comprehensive guide to writing? No. You'll probably have to find that somewhere else. King says you should look to Strucker and White for that. If you're looking to pursue high art literary writing, I think you may also have to look somewhere else for that. I can't imagine how such incredibly thematically focused books could possibly come out of the method that Stephen King says the story ought to come from here, even if I empathize with it. His suspicion of plot is also a little bit concerning for me because plot can focus a work, make it more focused on its themes and give it a proper direction. Stephen King's own work is kind of known to be long and meandering, so maybe some of that focus could help. He also really focuses on cutting rather than adding. He doesn't really give you any advice about how to spice up your story so much as he just says, read a lot and write a lot, which is fantastic advice, but almost anyone could tell it to you. All this being said, King's book is worth reading. My imagination has been started again. I was an English major. I thought I was going to be a writer. And now I feel called to write again. I've got some good soil, and now I feel inspired to dig.